Well, here we are again, Bobby. We're at another chat, and
Yes,
we're still in the pandemic, stay at home kind of thing, even though it's breaking out into the public.
yes, it's a pioneer time for everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody's trying new things, and we're all facing things we have not faced before.
true.
So it's an interesting time, perhaps, to learn new skills.
Yes, and we continue to review our own skill level and
Yeah.
find ourselves not using them as readily as we need to the more we're together here at home.
Well, one thing happened this week that we would like to talk about because perhaps some other couples also are facing opportunities to grow closer by working through little issues that come up that
Right.
you might tend to ignore because they truly are minor, but they do make a difference in your day.
Yeah, it's amazing. We don't really have the big issues because we early on have set boundaries.
You mean you and me?
You and me,
Mm-hmm.
because we've set boundaries, we've set how we agree to be angry with each other and tell each other. And we have a system of how to work through conflicts and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in day to day interaction, there are little things that pop up.
Yes. Our mentors, David and Vera Mace, who were marriage pioneers in the best definition of that, they had.
They wrote that we wrote this book about them and their skill building techniques.
Yes.
Very good to
We
consider.
called it the Marriage Pioneers because it was back in 1938 in the midst of another chaotic time, Depression and the eve of World War II, that they were trying to do simple, practical things for couples.
Right.
That had an impact not only on their relationship, but their family's relationship.
So you were saying that we did something last week.
Yes, but it's what they called acting on the pinch.
Acting on the pinch. In other words, it's that little bitty thing that, wow, that irritated me.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't like the way that felt.
Mm-hmm. So, like many other people in this long stay-at-home pandemic time, we've been doing a lot of jigsaw puzzles.
And we're together a lot.
Yes. So we had started a new puzzle, and a very minor thing came up.
And we've been doing puzzles for years and have loved doing them.
But the thing about the minor things, as we tell about it, is that if you let a lot of little minor things stack up, some big major thing is going to happen.
Well, and they stack on top of each other because they haven't been dealt with. It's like pancakes. It just builds up.
And it gets harder to deal with the major thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's made up of a lot of little minor resentments that you didn't acknowledge and you didn't deal with at the time.
We need to peel them off one by one because we haven't dealt with them.
Well, let's get back to our puzzle episode.
Our puzzle episode.
Yes, as we tell about it, you're going to see how minor a thing minor is.
Right.
But it made a difference to us, and because we acknowledged it and tried to deal with it, it went away.
Plus the fact it is a good description of acting on the pinch.
Mm-hmm. So we're sitting there doing our puzzle, and we both had different assumptions about how we were going to proceed.
I thought that Bobby was going to do the top half of the puzzle and I was going to do the bottom half. That was just a very simple agreement in my mind.
It wasn't in my mind because I had heard, which part of the puzzle do you want to do? This one was made up of little bitty scenes of the Southwest. And so we each picked a couple that we would like to do. And so I thought that's what our agreement was.
Yes.
So we started proceeding, and all of the blue puzzle pieces were in a different place from where I was working. So
in the bottom, in the area that I was working.
Yes. So I was reaching over, getting blue pieces, and I found several pieces that fit in to a place where Britton was working. And I put them in.
Yes.
And after I did the second or the third of them, he objected strongly to it.
Yes, I thought you were doing that half and I'm doing this half. I thought that's what's going on.
He said to me in a very sharp tone, as stay in your lane. I'm doing this part here. And it hurt my feelings because I thought, well, doing this puzzle is a team effort. And as long as we get the puzzle done,
right.
What does it matter if I put in a piece in yours? Don't be so territorial.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
So in my typical, habitual, waiting to be changed way,
okay.
I said something, which I don't even remember. It was so minor an episode, said something and left the room.
Yes, it was what I call a hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
She made a comment, a little bit sarcastic, and then left the room.
Mm-hmm. So I went off to stew about being dismissed from working on the puzzle and realized I had an option here, and it might be a minor thing, but the best thing to do was acknowledge how I felt. And I went back in and told Britton that it hurt my feelings when he said something sharp to me about putting in a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. You did.
And I felt very proud of myself for standing up and acknowledging what my feelings were. Excuse me. It might be a very simple and minor subject, but I had felt bad about what happened.
And I was very proud of her for doing this and wanted to tell her that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also asked her for my forgiveness on the situation.
And that was the most important thing that I learned about it.
I'm sorry that I talked with you that way and put that emphasis in a spiteful way or whatever way it was.
But the thing that happened there was I assumed that you were going to tell me, I assumed in your past way that you were going to tell me that I was wrong for what I was feeling. So and very logically, you were going to explain it. It was an assumption on my part.
Okay. You didn't even listen to me.
I was not listening.
Yeah.
And so you had to apologize a second time before I even registered that you weren't showing me how I was wrong.
That's right.
You were simply apologizing.
Right. And then I thank you for owning up to it and sharing with me.
Mm-hmm. And that was the main thing that happened between us, is getting rid of old habits and very long-standing scripts about what you're supposed to do when there is a disagreement.
True.
Mine has been very unproductive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was not even prepared to listen to Britton's side.
Right.
And when we got past the hurt and the annoyance of what had just happened, we were able to see that each had assumed something different, and we had not stopped to clarify our process for doing this puzzle.
And so, as a result, we were able to reconcile the situation, and we had dealt with act on the pinch. And that for minor situations, the thing is, minor situations, as Bobby had already said, when they build up, become major. And most times, many couples, the one thing that they hold on to was something minor, probably.
Mhm.
So often is the case, and they hold on to it, and then it just grows. And if something eats on you, it's going to eventually eat you up unless you do something about it.
Well, and for my style of acknowledging and dealing with minor issues, it's important for me to say how I'm feeling about it.
Yes.
When my feelings are hurt, I sometimes translate that into anger.
Okay.
And so for me to deal with it at all personally, I need to acknowledge what I'm feeling to tell the other person with I statements about I am feeling dismissed and hurt and put down.
Oh.
And I didn't like the tone of stay in your lane. This is my part of the puzzle.
Right.
And when I could acknowledge that, even though it sounded somewhat silly to be hurt over a little thing like working on a jigsaw puzzle, when I could acknowledge it and say it, it changed the situation. And not until I could do that could we ever get to the part of finding out what the assumptions were and planning how we were going to deal with this again.
Yes, and we did get back to the puzzle, by the way, and finished it.
Yeah.
But we also went on to have our couple time in that soon after you had shared your feelings about the situation.
Well, that's another recommendation from our mentors, David and Vera Mace. Not only is acting on the pinch, they say, a way to clear up little issues that happen with everybody's relationship, in every family, in every work situation. Not only is it clearing it up that prevents any further decay of the relationship or resentment going on, and acting on the pinch is one of those little but important things that help the days go better during these pioneer times. A second thing is having a short couple time every day.
It's dedicated to talking about the couple and your couple issues or anything you're feeling about it.
It's not a time for working on disagreements.
Set a time for that. Make an appointment for that.
This is a time to talk about the relationship itself, what's right with it, and
a positive emphasis. Yes.
And it is a necessary way that the Maces recommended and many couples in marriage enrichment find invaluable toward building a close and a sustaining relationship during difficult times.
And that's why we wrote the book, Marriage for the Everyday, because it has 365 conversation starters. And it's perfect to use in your daily couple time.
So if you are, like many people, thinking about having a couple time, but not knowing exactly what you would say, we're going to do a question, which is at the bottom of every page of the 365 things. And so here is a short version of what you might deal with during a couple time. And the one we chose for today says, how did you know that this was the one for you? So here's a short answer to that interesting question.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a few years.
It has. We're moving up to 64, and we knew each other beforehand, so this is hard.
Yes.
But I knew anyway. I was 17 years old No, I was 18 by then, by the time I had met you.
Okay.
And I knew that you were the one because you fit two things that were important to me.
Oh.
One was shared values. I admired you as a person. I knew what you thought. I knew we shared a lot of the same values toward life.
Okay.
And then the second thing, that chemistry was there.
Oh.
It was not just a friendship with shared values, it was a romantic chemical interest too.
I like that.
And to me, those two things let me know that you were the one. What about you?
Well, I had prayed before I ever met you that I needed to be who God wanted me to be and stay with that. And then the girl that he wanted for me would want me.
Uh-huh.
And so I put the emphasis on who I was.
Mm-hmm.
But as we began to get acquainted, you were intriguing to me, and I had a hard time getting you out of my mind. But once we dated, the doubts left me, and I really felt I was on a right track. In fact, several of my good friends told me, "Britton, you're in love," and I didn't know what love was, so I was surprised, and so it was very important to me. So that's a brief look at us.
Yes, but the question is interesting. How did you know, whenever the two of you met and began to get really interested in each other, how did you know that this was the one?
So practice that yourselves, and I hope to see you next week.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us today. Stay safe.